And we're live with my old friend Ron Bonfiglio. Ron, it's been a long time.
In a couple of years.
It's been since before the pandemic. Yeah, that's how long. And I don't understand how that's even possible. But you've been back in the world in a big way. Have you been back in the world in a big way?
I've been out there, yes. I've been out there. Busy, busy, busy. I've never worked so much.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
In one
wonderful.
concentrated time, yeah. It's crazy.
Does it feel the way it always, I talk about this all the time because to me, life is still not the same. Does it feel like it always did for you?
Not really, not 100%. I think there's still residual traces of trepidation and I'm naturally, I'm naturally kind of a germaphobe and
Hmm.
hypochondriacal in a way. So it's only added to that stress level for me. But I think that it's tempered a little bit over the past couple of years, since things have kind of sort of evened out a little more. But still, I never go on an airplane without a mask. I do the whole mask thing ever, and I've been flying a lot. Yeah, I think I lost your audio.
Oh, shoot. There,
Oh, there you are.
sorry. I hit something. People are getting COVID again, so it's crazy again.
Yeah, I just
But
had my COVID booster shot 2 days ago.
oh, really?
I did, and that night I was laid out. It was like I might as well just had gotten COVID, but I'm fine now. But I guess that's a good thing. It just the body's
Okay,
broken.
so I'm going to tell you the secret to the COVID vaccine because I learned this after getting really sick after one. You drink a ton of Fiji water. I drink a ton of Fiji water before, during, and after. And there's electrolytes or something in there. And I don't get sick anymore when I have to knock on wood. I don't get sick when I take the shot anymore.
Interesting.
So I like those huge bottles.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like one or two of those before, and then at least two
Yeah,
of them after, and it seems to do the trick.
I had the flu shot a week before that, and nothing, not even nothing at all. But the COVID, that one laid me out.
Yeah, those can be nasty, but better to have it and be
Yes. Oh,
safe than
mhm.
to. We're still kind of delayed. I'm trying to figure out what
Yep.
is going on. I'm getting you kind of delayed, which is,
Sorry.
I have to ask if you guys out there, are you getting us delayed? I hope not. So it is back to normal, but you're trepidatious. So.
Yeah, just like extra cautious. I don't know whatever it is.
But do you feel the same? I don't feel the same socially out in the world that I used to. I feel different. Is that not the case for you? I guess not, because you're
To a degree,
so out there.
yes, because there's still that you're still remembering what happened. It's still like this thing, and then you're I'm very conscious of, oh well, those people were anti-maskers or whatever, and this person and that. You kind of have that kind of going on in your head at the same time. So
Right.
it's just weird. It's weird.
So what were you doing, Rob, when the lights went out? So, when the shutdown happened,
Yeah.
I was at a Wild Honey concert. As I was telling you, I was seeing you perform just days before the
Yeah.
shutdown, and there were people in there coughing, and I was terrified. And
Well,
Jackson Browne came down with it just a few days later. So, uh, what were you off to do something right after? What
yeah.
what was your agenda?
I remember that Wild Honey show. That was the Love and Spoonful show, I believe,
Right.
2020. And if my timeline is correct, as I get older, my timeline gets skewed.
Yeah.
But I think right after that, we did a cruise with Brian. It was called the Kayamo Cruise, so it was kind of like an
You
ultimate.
got on a cruise right before
Yeah,
COVID?
was it right before? I'm trying to think because yeah,
Oh,
I think it was right before. And because I came home from that cruise and was sick, 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 out, and then like weeks later, it was shut down, lockdown.
you were 666, so maybe you had COVID?
I caught it on the cruise.
You did.
Hmm. And I know exactly who I caught it from, but I'm not going to name names.
No kidding.
Yes, I remember.
Okay, so was that the first and only time, or did you get it again?
I got it probably three more times, two more times, two or three more times.
Because you're out there.
I guess, but I don't really recall. Yeah, yeah. A couple had come back from, I don't know, traveling or whatever, but they were progressively less and less extreme. The
Mm.
first time I got it, I was really out. I was down for the count. But then
It
the
was
next,
the first one was really bad.
real bad. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. And did your family, did Carney get it? Did the kids get it?
everybody did. Everybody,
Oh,
everybody. Yeah.
oh.
Thankfully, there was no, long-term issues or complications. Like many people didn't have it that lucky. So
Yeah, I'll say. And so you were down for the count, and then what did you guys do during the shutdown? And how long were you
yeah,
shut down?
a couple of years, wasn't it? Let's see.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. I remember when it happened, we were living in Toluca Lake,
hmm?
and we moved short, like that summer, which was kind of like when lockdown began. We moved to Agora Hills and lived there for a couple of years. And all the time we lived in Agora Hills, it was lockdown. So I kind of relate that time period to being, which I loved it there. It was beautiful, and I hiked a lot and kind of got outside a lot, but
Do you
didn't
not
really.
live there anymore?
No, we moved to the beautiful South Central, no, the North Valley. We're in Northridge, Porter Ranch, Northridge area.
Okay, we're in Encino. We're
Yes,
not far.
we're in the valley.
In the Valley Girl. So, how did your kids do? And what did you do? Oh,
Oh yeah.
my daughter was in college.
Mm,
What on earth? Well, actually, she had just graduated. What did you?
mm.
Wow, your kids, they weren't socialized. How
It
did
was
you teach them? What did you have to do?
they did online school. They did it online, and it was for my youngest daughter Lucy. It was real hard for her. Like
How old was she?
she was, let's see, she's 16 now, so she was 13, 12.
Oh, that's so
It was a peak,
hard.
it was like junior high school starting that, and Lola was, I think, a freshman in high school. So, but Lucy really was affected by it. She just really kind of fought anxiety, and she's only just now coming out of all that,
I bet.
So it was a big deal. It was a real big deal.
And so, because they weren't socialized,
Mhm.
was it hard for Lucy to re-socialize? Was it hard for Lola to re-socialize?
They kept their friend circles, but again, there was no
Mm,
personal contact. It was all
right.
phone, whatever. Yeah,
Did you do things like go outside in the backyard and that
yeah,
kind of
we did.
thing?
We did as
Hmm.
much as we could get fresh air or whatever. There's some good hiking up in Agora, and so I did a lot of that. I tried to take the kids when I could. So we did our best, but it was still the kids. The kids are who I felt bad for. Me fine. I didn't mind the break. Truthfully, it was kind of almost.
Because you're on the road all the time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so how did you use the time to write this new album that's waiting to come out?
I think I did. Yes, I accumulated a bunch of songs. Yes, I put out a couple singles, and um, towards the end of the pandemic and the lockdown is when I started to really write a lot, and then things started to pick up again, and then I kind of got caught up in other things. But the record's almost ready to come out. So
I was telling you, okay, so Running from Me. I heard it this morning and I just love it. I love
yeah,
it.
thank you.
And in all of the songs, there was another one about Fever Dream. Is that right? Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that coming out. And
Thank
so, uh, did you have a schedule? Were you incredibly productive? I was not. Were you incredibly, well, that's a lie. I went live every day. But
Yeah.
w what did your days look like during the pandemic?
I tried to be disciplined. I'm always trying to be disciplined, and then I get on a roll, and I'm real rigid and strict, and I get things done, and then I just naturally rebel against that kind of discipline, go off and do whatever. But I wouldn't say that I didn't do anything. I mean, I was certainly busy musically and doing what I do. I practice guitar a lot, and I try to.
But you weren't like on a schedule. Okay, I'm gonna get up at
No,
8 o'clock in the morning and I'm gonna,
yeah, I didn't do that.
yeah, no, neither did I. And so, were your kids able to be successful doing school that way?
Yeah, I mean, well, they managed to get through the year. they managed to get through the school year as difficult as it was because
Mm.
everything was online. So they didn't really have any incentive to get up and get dressed and go out the door. They didn't have to do that. They just whatever do it from bed, which is just
Wow.
more. It was just a really weird
Was
situation.
it only 1 year that they were doing it online? I don't
I
remember.
want to say it was like a year and a half,
Yeah,
a solid year and a half.
and so let's talk about Lola for a minute. We're Team Lola. We were
Oh,
watching Lola. We were
yeah,
cheering her on. It was so exciting to see
yeah.
her and then see you and Carnie and Wendy come out and support her. And that was just really wonderful. Was she terrified? I mean, how terrifying was that
Oh, she was
experience for
so
her?
she was braver than I gave her credit for. That's for sure. She really took it by the horns and ran with it. Um,
For those of you that don't know, Lola Bonfoglio was on American Idol
yeah,
and yes, went to Hollywood.
that's right. She got past the first couple rounds. Um, Lola is very very talented on her. This was none of her ambition is pushed by. We don't push her to do any of this stuff. It's comes from within her. She really has whatever it is, those genetics, I guess.
Oh boy, does she have genetics.
And she's super disciplined and whatever. But she doesn't have the kind of voice she doesn't belt. And I think that those kind of shows really love the belters and
Yeah,
the acrobats of vocals and whatever. I'm not putting anybody down. It's just a style. And
right.
she's more of a soft singer and she in her own by her own accord it was admitted she wasn't really ready to be doing that. But it was a really great learning process for her.
Fantastic. And how brave and
Brave, very brave.
how amazing. And then also now she has a name out there. There are
She has her first
everybody knows who she is.
she has her first gig coming up.
Does she really? Where's she doing it?
She's playing at Hotel Ziggy, which is on the Strip somewhere. I'm not familiar with it. It's a
And
hotel.
who's her band? Are
She has a
you
band. She has a school friend who has a band herself and gigs pretty regularly. And Lola always joins their gigs and does background singing and whatever. So she's
what,
going to use some of those players as her band. And she writes like crazy, and she's a really talented writer.
like what kind of music does she is she in your vein or
More of her age bracket of that
so
pop.
like that pop that
It's
like a Taylor Swifty kind of thing?
not quite as processed sounding. It's more organic.
Of course it
Um,
is.
her tastes are really quite varied. She doesn't stick to any one thing. She loves Elton John and Billy Joel and the Beatles and all
How
that stuff.
great is that?
But then she loves whatever the late. I'm trying to think of who she likes. I don't
Like
Sabrina
Carpenter,
Carpenter.
whatever her name, something Carpenter.
Not so much Sabrina Carpenter, but
Yeah. I
Billie
don't
Eilish.
even know what's what. Does she like Billie Eilish?
That's Billie Eilish, yeah.
Yeah.
And then some people beyond that, Joe, DJ, Joe, DeJoe. I don't even know. I'm so old. I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, I
Although
don't
I've
know.
been kind of listening to new stuff myself, so
And
um,
does she appreciate her lineage? Does she appreciate
yeah,
your music, her mom's music, her
sure does.
grandfather's music?
She sure does. Yep, she's
I
a
mean, you guys sound like there's nothing like family. I mean, I know you're not blood to them, but you might, well, you're blood to Lola, but you and Carnie aren't blood, but you sound like you are.
oh,
You do. When you guys harmonize together, it's crazy.
it's funny. We did a Wilson Phillips show 3 weeks ago, and Carney was sick. She couldn't make the show at the last minute, so I had to fill in and sing her parts.
Isn't it
It was
nice that you've
fun.
got that voice that can do
Yeah, I could
that?
do it.
Wow.
That was fun. That was fun. It was a challenge.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So, and you've been their musical director and guitarist for quite
Mhm.
some time. For how long?
Man, almost 20 years now.
20. Okay.
Mhm.
This is crazy. And you guys have been together like 25-ish?
25 years.
Okay, so for people that inquiring minds that want to know,
Mhm.
uh you had already opened for the Who, right? When you met Carn. Is that true? You'd already done that?
Yeah, that was already done before I met Carney. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to talk about that a minute because that's just crazy. So you were in a band that was signed
That was a
and
long time ago. Yes.
you had a deal, you had a record,
Mhm.
Wonderlust.
Yep.
And what kind of music were you guys doing?
It was considered alternative power pop, I guess you could say.
Alternative power. Like who would you like? Could you liken it to
Let's say,
somebody?
yeah, sure. Fountains of Wayne. Um, Geez, who else? Counting Crows, maybe. I don't know. Just like
Okay.
it's just guitar-based melodic rock and roll
Yeah, I
versus.
was going to say that's more, I think of that as rock and roll more than
Yeah,
pop, but
yeah. I guess you
yeah.
can say that. Sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
And so you're out of Philly, and
Hmm.
is that where the band is born, or is the band born in New York,
Philadelphia. Yeah.
in Philadelphia? So how do you get on this fast track that you get a deal and you get to open for the Who? How does this happen to you for you guys?
Wow. We were all in our 20s, so everything was, and it was a great time for music. I think in terms of bands getting signed, it was post Nirvana, so like floodgates open and everybody was signing everybody.
Is this like the early 90s?
This was, yeah, like
Hmm.
93, 94.
Hmm.
Were signed late 94. But we were only together for about 18 months before we got signed, only because
Wow.
I think we were all kind of skilled at what we did and were in various bands throughout our younger days. And we had one common direction and focus, and we really laser pointed it. And, we played a lot, played everywhere in New York and Philly and Boston, just up and down the East Coast.
And
Um,
was the goal to, you had enough original material, so the goal was to get signed and
yeah,
make a record?
that's right. Yep, that's right.
And how did what label were you with?
RCA, the Recording Cemetery of America. Yes.
I I was gonna say, did they promote you? How were they with you? No.
Not great. Not
Yeah.
great. I remember that the one thing that they would not give us was a video budget. And that was the day and age when MTV was
Hell
making
yeah.
everybody. So we just couldn't fathom why they wouldn't have done that. But we got to do a tour with Collective Soul out of Atlanta. They were really popular at the time. They took a liking to us. They heard our record and took us out on the road. So that was kind of a big deal for us. We were playing room full of maybe 200 people a night to like 3 and 4,000.
That's amazing.
So that was, yeah, it was a very, very compressed kind of a concentrated time frame that these things happened all at once, and then it just as quickly went away. So
So, okay, so how did you guys get the Who gig? How did that
yeah,
happen?
the Who gig, I think we were booked with the same booking agent that they had, which was Premier Talent at the time. And I remember the Who were coming over to do the Quadrophenia tour. This was in 1996.
Hmm.
And the band they had chosen to tour with, I think the band was called Ocean Color Scene. I don't know what happened to them. They couldn't clear customs or something happened like for the first night. And so Premiere were kind of frantic to find someone to open.
How much advance did you have to know that you were opening for
Much,
the?
maybe a couple weeks,
Oh, wow.
maybe less. I don't remember really, but
I bet it was less if it was a
yeah,
customs
it
issue.
had to have been less. But we were freaking out.
Wow.
It was
Did you do anything differently that night than you did other nights? Did
we. I wouldn't say we did anything differently, other than we really waved our rock and roll flags. We were
I,
just like
I
really
bet.
going for it, going for it. And it was a once in a lifetime experience. And but our mutual friend Lauren, who plays with the Who now and has for a long
And you
time,
played with him when he was with Chicago, which is crazy.
right? So he's living, my fantasy.
Yeah, well, we just went and saw them at the bowl, and supposedly it's the last.
Right. Well,
The song is over. I don't believe it,
I
but
saw their farewell tour too. It was in 1982.
yeah,
It was the farewell tour. Isn't
that's right. That's crazy.
that funny?
And I don't think this will be farewell either. All these people doing
No,
these farewell, they're all full of shit,
they're still standing.
They're still standing. I mean,
Yes.
Elton's out doing something right now. It's like
Yeah.
the whole Elton goodbye thing,
Oh
and
yeah. It's
yeah,
sad.
yeah.
Splendid.
So, and did you have interaction with the boys?
Yeah, we did. We got to hang out with John Entwistle for a little bit.
Oh, geez.
And his girlfriend at the time kind of took a liking to us, so we got to, we went to a bar afterwards and stuff. And Roger Daltrey took pictures with us and everything. And Pete Townsend, I remember, stuck his head in the dressing room. He was like, "Hey," he couldn't hear a word. We were like, "Thank," we were trying to be like, "What do you say to Pete Townsend?" And he just looked at us and walked right out because you could tell he couldn't hear a word we said.
Oh,
It was
God.
enough. It was enough to fuel, those adolescent dreams of being, with, rock stars.
Were the Who one of the band? I mean, they were for me. Were they idols of yours? I
Oh
assume
my
they
God,
were.
yes, huge, yes,
Huge.
huge. The Rolling Stones and the Who and just the British Invasion bands, big time. Yeah.
And so, Rob, how old were you and what made you pick up a guitar?
Wow. I was 12, seventh grade. I always had an inkling for music or an attraction to music. I just didn't really know how I thought I wanted to play violin when I was 6 or 7 years old. Um, and I never did. I don't come from a musical family, so I didn't have,
That was my next question. Do you come
yeah,
from a musical family?
it
Hmm.
wasn't like there was a piano in the house where we could punk. There was nothing. We didn't have anything. I found a box of records that somebody had given to my parents, and
Hmm.
the records were, I remember, like Jimmy Smith and Blue Note jazz records, and then there was Junior Walker and the All Stars soul stuff, and like doo wop, rock and roll. And I really I fell into this kind of like this world of, wow, what is this? Is all my. It just became my own inner world, discovering all these records and things, and that kind of like started a spark in me.
And did you always sing? Was it natural to you,
Oh
or did you study, or what?
no,
What?
I never consider myself a singer ever.
You're an incredible singer. You have like a totally pure and perfect pop voice. You really do. You
Thanks.
do.
Thank
You
you.
have a crystal clear. It's great. It's amazing.
You're very kind to say that.
No,
Thanks.
it's really the truth. It's how I feel. It's
Thank you.
true.
Not until many, 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 many years later did I like take a few lessons just to make sure I wasn't doing something wrong, which of course I was. I wasn't breathing properly and not singing from the diaphragm. And only later did I come to, understand how to use compression in my voice and find the sweet spot in there. So it was all just happenstance. I think that I fell into singing.
Well,
I
so did you guys do that for Lola? Has she trained, or does she just has she just sang with you
She
guys
always
all her life?
had a voice. She always had the quality and she has very, if not perfect pitch, very near perfect pitch. She can recall notes and tell you what that, any note is at any whatever's added to it. She can tell the key of a song, you know, sing it and be in key. I've got great relative pitch, but I don't have perfect pitch. So I can
Aha.
use that in my head. It might not be the right key though. I have to transpose it in my head. Um, we did get her into some lessons. She sang. Actually, it was during the pandemic. I think she did online lessons for a while. So she took advantage of that time down to just learn how to phrase and breathe and all that stuff. Not really to any extensive degree, but she didn't study opera or anything. But
Right, right. It's interesting that you said that about belting. My daughter did musical theater, and she had this beautiful kind of sweet voice, and she took a few singing lessons, and she turned into a belter.
yeah,
Nobody knew she had that in her.
yeah, no, it's
Um,
you gotta. It's like being a gymnast or something. You do a cartwheel, but you want to train, and then you find that inner strength or whatever that is.
Yeah, it's kind of just learning how to sing it from that place. Not that
Congratulations,
Lola needs to be a
sweetheart.
belter. I mean, Samantha wanted to do Broadway, so that's a different kind of
Oh,
thing. But
sure, that's a whole nother.
but it can
Congratulations to
it
Samantha for being a bride. How exciting!
yeah.
Exciting!
Yeah,
Wow.
she's surprised. And she gave up, that other dream and is
Oh,
she's a lawyer. She's in
oh,
law school.
wow.
Yeah.
God bless.
But she did get to sing on Broadway. The
Fantastic.
Waitress, the musical, did
Oh
this
my
thing where
God.
they plucked people from the audience, and she got to
How
sing lead with that
exciting.
orchestra, and,
Uh,
and got to live that dream for a moment.
Oh, it's
Well,
phenomenal.
we have somebody for Lola. If she ever goes that way, he's actually a Broadway actor and
Oh,
he's very successful. He's on Broadway right now, I believe. And he taught Samantha in like 6 lessons because she was
really?
going to college auditions for musical theater.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think I've heard Lola say that she wanted to do theater, right?
Oh, you know who that is? I would love to tell her.
Jimmy Smagula. I'll get you in touch with him.
Please. Okay.
He taught Samantha how to bet. I'm telling you, he
Incredible.
changed her whole thing.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really crazy. But anyway, Lola's amazing. And I was also listening to Carnie sing and where her voice, I mean, I mean, she was just brought up in it. So I assume she
Yeah.
didn't study. I assume it
Yeah.
just was part of,
She had lessons. Yeah, she had lessons, but I don't think she studied real hard about, it wasn't real intensive. It was just, again, breathing techniques and whatnot. She studied with Seth Riggs, and who was a big voice teacher in LA and in the world, really. I think he taught Michael Jackson and studied
Mhm.
for a long time. But
So, all right. So let's get back to you. So you pick up a guitar, you're in seventh grade,
that's,
and seventh grade, you're younger than I am, so it's way post Beatles invasion. What's going on musically? What's ringing your bell? What are you trying to emulate?
yeah, this was okay. Seventh grade for me was 79, 80. That was the school year. So it was 10 years past the 60s and all that stuff. But we were still seventh grade for me was where the floodgates opened. That's where that's when I started smoking
Did you
weed.
did you appreciate the Beatles? I have to just ask.
Yes, that was the first album I ever bought was Abbey Road
Oh
in
wow.
maybe 1974 or five. And I always loved. I have an older sister, and she would bring home singles all the time. So we would, Band on the Run was a huge in 1974. I remember when that came out, and all those great bubblegum hits and stuff, and the Osmonds and all these things I grew up with as hand-me-downs from my sister. Um, so seventh grade was 1979, 1980, and there were so many great albums came out in 79 and 80. The Wall, Pink Floyd The Wall.
Wow.
Back in Black came out that year. The Cars, Candy O.
Mm.
Supertramp, Breakfast in America. Who else? The Who, Face Dances, Rolling Stones, Emotional Rescue.
Wow.
All these albums at once, they all kind of happened at once. And it was a time, we look back and think that'll never happen again, where you have so many huge iconic records and
Hmm.
bands. Oh, and Zeppelin In Through the Outdoor was new. It was just a musical time, and I
And
remember.
so what was your lane back then? What were you trying?
Yeah, what was my attraction to music was. Yeah,
Where did you see yourself fitting in?
um, I was way into the Rolling Stones and the Who, classic rock stuff. It was my thing. Um,
And you
and
had a classic rock, did you have a classic rock band before long?
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, we had a band before. We had a band that never actually played. It was we made it up in study hall. I remember very clearly, and I was assigned to be the rhythm guitarist. And so I got a guitar. I'm like, I followed through. The other guys kind of fell away, and it never happened. I got a guitar, and I never stopped. And I took lessons, and I just kept going from there. And
So when you studied, what did you study? Because most teachers aren't going to teach you
yeah.
rock and roll. What did you study?
I remember like those initial lessons were like Mel Bay books and just like sight reading, like playing a couple of whatever the notes on the staff.
And were you good about doing your homework?
I think I tried to be. I
Hmm.
tried to be. Chords, just basic chord shapes and things like that. But again, I learned most of the stuff off, just listening to records and through friends that played guitar, and we would get together, and that's where the learning was, and we would do jam sessions together. These maybe this is I'm progressing about a year or so after that initial. Uh,
And are you the lead singer right off the bat? You
no, I
must have
didn't sing
been.
at all. I didn't sing
No?
at all. No, 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 not until probably maybe 4 or 5 years later. I mean, yeah, maybe 4 or 5 years later, like middle high school, when I actually had a real band that I formed. And yes, I did a little singing, but I never wanted to be a lead singer. It wasn't.
Really?
I didn't feel I had a voice to do that. I never. I don't know. Nobody said, "Hey, sing." In my house, I remember just growing up, like I I can't. It wasn't cool. I don't know what it was. I just never grasped onto that to being a singer until later.
Did your parents support you as a musician?
Yeah, um,
What did they want you to be, Rob?
well, how are you gonna make how are you gonna make a living? That was a common theme. They were supportive, I guess, but then there wasn't. My family upbringing, there weren't a lot of. And I don't want to make paint anybody in a bad light, but there wasn't a lot of like ambition to be anything. And growing up, I wasn't around like.
What did your father do?
He was a businessman. What does that mean? I'm not really sure. He
Are
ran
you-
a, he ran a business. My
And
mom,
and your mother, did she work outside the house or was
odd jobs, just odd jobs.
hmm
There was no like professional anything like that. So I felt like I missed that. Even then, I'm like I feel like I'm missing something. There's something not, and I'm not slighting them. It was just the way that it was. Um, so when I did find my tribe of people, which was probably when I started college at I went to Berklee College of Music. Um,
Well, you had to be very proficient to go to Berkeley.
I thought I was until I got there, and then I realized I didn't know anything. And that first week, okay. I went to Berkeley with this. I don't know if it was kind of like my guns were on my hips. I was ready to like be a sharpshooter or whatever. And then I just walk in the door, and I'm shot dead.
Oh
So
my God.
fuck this. I'm putting these guns away. I'm just going to be a sponge, and I want to learn. And I took that kind of attitude ever since. And I I
It
learned
serves you well.
it serves me well. I learned to humble myself when I was there because that's the best. All for the name of wanting to learn and be better and to grow. And so I
And
took.
is Berkeley one of those schools where you're out if you don't
Mm,
what is that called when you have to each year have to
like
be
proficiency or whatever.
whatever that is?
Yeah,
Berkeley wasn't that way or it
not
was?
so much. I think
hmm
they just want your money.
Yeah.
You're paying, you're staying, just get good grades, you'll be fine. Whatever. It was almost like a burden, or not a burden, but what's the opposite of a mark of honor? A detriment to graduate, because
Wow.
those that graduated weren't good enough, I guess, to get gigs and go off.
Wow.
I graduated, so there you go.
You did,
But I
and
was
you're
young.
you're doing pretty well. So now
Unlike,
while you're at Berkeley, are
yeah.
you do you have bands? Are you playing out on what do you do?
I was and still am a jazz freak. So when I went to Berkeley, I was all about jazz 100%. It was 1986 to 1990, so the music at the time was hair metal and whatever on the popular,
Right.
and I didn't listen to radio for 4 years. I was a jazz.
Who were your jazz heroes?
Oh my God, all the greats, Coltrane and Miles, all the classic great stuff, and then
And were
guitar.
you playing that stuff?
I was trying to learn it. Yeah, I was trying to learn it, and
Okay, so this is wild too. My daughter's husband plays with Michelle Coltrane. He's a multi-instrumentalist, a saxophone player, and he got to play Coltrane's saxophone.
wow.
And yeah, he's a jazz
Wow.
guy. But I don't understand. See, now I don't see you as the jazz guy. I can't even picture you playing that music.
If, I think if everything were to be taken away from me and I would only be left with one thing, I would say just let me play jazz.
And every musician says that. I don't understand. I don't really understand jazz. Progressive jazz is way over my head. I don't really get it.
I'm just like, yeah, straight ahead jazz. It's jazz, just the art form, it's an
What
improvisation.
is it? What is it about jazz that is
It's a
so?
communicative musical art form. I mean, I don't need to get hoity-toity about it, but it's a language that you learn that when you get together with other players, and I'm just generalizing,
Mhm.
it's a conversation. It's I think that the best of your abilities are always on display, or at least you try it. It's kind of like being. I'm trying to liken it to like fine art or any kind of.
Hmm.
It's hard to really muster in words, but um, it's a discipline that I love, and the music I love, and it's a story, and it's I don't
So
know.
when you sit down to play to just fool around, is that where you'll go?
Yeah, Yes. Yeah. I live kind of in a dichotomous way in which, rock and pop is so ingrained in my soul as well as jazz. So I kind of have to split the two a little bit and live in two separate sort of worlds.
Have you ever made a jazz record, or do you want to?
I would love to. I just am so self aware of that side of me that it's almost painful for me to. I have to give myself 100% over to it, and
Wow.
I have to really. And I've got to find the right players to hang out with. I haven't, I've got some friends and players, but I'm still looking for a community. I think that it's not here. It's
Is
probably
that true?
probably. I mean, although LA is a great town and there's
Mm.
incredible players, but you know,
But
there's
so many of the players that are playing other music, they all feel the way you do. They all are jazz in their
well,
souls.
let's go get together and play some music.
That's right. I got to hook you up with 'cause
Yeah,
all the guys that have told me this on the side. That's what they really want to do.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there's lots of them.
yeah, they're
So,
around.
okay, so you're in Berkeley. How soon after Berkeley do you do Wonderlust? How does that happen?
Let's see. So I graduated in 1990. I came back to Philly. Berkeley's in Boston. I came back to Philly, and then immediately I joined a band in New York City. So I was driving back and forth to New York. It's like 90-minute drive. It's not that far. In retrospect, thinking back, I had a 1980 Dodge Aspen. Oh, it was a piece of crap car. The engine was great, but nothing worked on it. I remember this is pre-internet, pre-navigation.
Sure.
I would get lost in the Bronx or whatever, and it was
And
great.
I think we talked about this last time because I was booking clubs in the village back in China Club and stuff. And
Yeah.
so we probably almost banged into each other.
Yes,
So what
yes.
clubs were you playing back in those days?
Like Kenny's Castaways.
Oh God, I was set the rock. I was two doors down. That's crazy.
I know the Bitter End right down the street. God, where else? We played. There was a place called the Ear Bar that was down like it was near the Holland Tunnel down somewhere,
Yeah.
Varick Street or somewhere. There's a place called the Downtime.
Oh
That
yeah.
you remember that place? Yeah, it's kind of
I almost booked that place, as a
almost there. It
matter
was
of fact.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Where else? We played somewhere like over on Avenue A. It was some divey, dumpy bar. I can't remember what it was, what the place
And
was.
so what kind of music were you guys? So you were doing that alternative,
Yeah, yeah, CBGBs. We played CBs a bunch.
fantastic.
Um,
And so how did you get signed? How did that happen?
oh well, okay. So fast forward to Wanderlust. We just played a lot, and we played this place in Philadelphia.
Oh,
It's
these
called
were other bands that you were coming to New York
previous
with.
band. Yeah, this was
Okay.
couple bands prior to Wanderlust.
And
Um,
what music were you playing? What kind of music were you
Similar.
doing
It
then?
was it was like alternative rock. It was like
It
Matt
was,
Sweet. Imagine like when he first came out. It was like that rock and roll. Lenny Kravitz kind of had that kind of like
mm-hmm.
it's like back to sort of Beatley rock again. So that kind of what ushered in the '90s. It wasn't grunge because that was sort of an extreme of one ilk of music. Um, but there was an influence of this just loud rock and roll. Uh,
Right.
yeah. So anyway, so when Wanderlust was formed in like '93, we just played everywhere in Philadelphia we could, everywhere, coffee bars, acoustically, electric, everywhere. And then we'd take a trip to New York and play wherever it was. And it was constant, constant, constant. But our home base was a place on South Street called J.C. Dobbs, which was kind of a legendary dive bar that
Hmm.
hosted Nirvana when they first in like 1980.
Wow.
I think Oasis played there when they first came to the United States. Um,
Wow.
all these bands that Pearl Jam, all these bands that went on to become huge.
Was it like a CBGB's of
Similar, yeah,
Philly or kind of?
similar. Not
Mhm.
quite as filthy and
Yeah.
scary,
Thank goodness for that. Ugh.
but similar in
Mhm.
intention. Yeah. So that was kind of our home base, and we ended up, creating a lot of music and playing there regularly. And then, as it turned out, we started to develop a following, and we would start filling the room whenever we played there. So eventually, we started to get courted by record labels, and I remember we almost signed to Epic Records, and then we almost signed to some label that was, I remember it was touted as Robert De Niro's Tribeca record, some vanity project of his. We were
Huh.
being taken out to dinners and all these things, and come up to New York. We want to show you, this is what we can.
Wow.
And we ended up going with RCA. They came down and they saw us and they signed us. And um,
Was it a whirlwind from like, did you go right into the studio?
yes.
What was?
Yep. I remember we did like a 4-song demo that really attracted the label, and they came down to see us play at JC Dobbs, and we were signed in, I think it was, I want to say it was late October maybe, that we were offered the deal. And then we were in the studio finishing what we started. We did a 4-song demo. We just basically continued on that. We were in the studio that January. So it was like a couple months later, we were already making the record. The record came out in June. So it was only like 4 or 5 months time, six months tops. Was
Wow.
it about 6 months. We were already out on the road. Promoting.
So why did it, so you had an album, you're opening for Collective Soul, you're opening for The Who. Why did it go away so quickly?
The guy that originally signed us, his boss was like, I don't know what he was, the president of the North America, or whatever it was. He came and then he left. So they were shuffling people in and shuffling people out. And luckily our A&R guy got to stay. Other bands, A&Rs, they just came and went. So I know some bands who signed and their album never even came out.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of upheaval. It was a time when that was happening. People were merging and doing this and that.
Right.
So we never got the full red carpet treatment from them. We got the initial budget, the support, the tour support, but never a video budget.
Never a video. That's crazy
At
in
a
those
time
days.
when that was what was breaking everybody.
That was everything.
It was everything. So it never happened. And we didn't know what to make of it, and we just soldiered on, did the record.
Did you sell any records? Must have been hard without a video.
We had good radio play, actually. We had pretty good radio support. I think it was all the way up to like Denver. Beyond Denver on the west, it wasn't as much. But I remember playing all these radio shows. It was like a time when you would do these multi-bill acts promoting the radio, whatever the alternative radio station was. And it was in Denver and Atlanta. We got big support in Minneapolis and Chicago, and we did a WNEW show in New York.
Cool.
I remember that we opened. It was us and Delamitri. Remember that band?
I don't.
Delamitri. They were. I want to say they're from like Scotland or something. Really great band. Really great power pop rock and roll band. So that was a thrilling time.
And so what happened?
So we immediately went back into the studio the following year, like after that whirlwind summer of touring and all this radio play. Oh, this is awesome. We're going straight back in the studio. Never took a breath, never stopped to think about what we want to do or how we want to do it.
And you'd been writing all that time, so you were ready to go?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Songs were accumulating. So we went back in the studio. At this point in time, the contact with the label was getting less and less frequent. So paranoia started to creep in, and we're doing something wrong. And then we started to get at each other's throats. And then we ended up being in the studio doing that second record for close to a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we had the budget to do it, but they just like, nah, we don't hear a singer or whatever it was. Just keep going back and forth. And it just, after a while, it was exhausting and draining. And those initial feelings of all for one for all, we are going to do this together, that just splintered, and we just, that was it. That was the end. We were done. So it was really a flash. It was 5 years we were together, but
oh wow,
it felt like it was a long time. Well, because we broke up and then we were off the label, and then we got back together again, and we decided let's just try it again. And then by that time, just nobody trusted anybody, and it was just a mess, and it was time to move on. So that was a big gut punch for me personally, because I really invested everything in it, and I really had stars in my eyes about it. I really felt like this was gonna be a straight shot to where I want to be, in my career or whatever. And it wasn't,
And so I guess the dream was to be a rock star, right? The dream was to be,
whatever it was. And it was very unrealistic, but we were young. We didn't know. we weren't living, we didn't live life to we didn't, it was something we had to go through, I guess.
Sure, of course. And
Um,
so where did you land, Rob? When that ended,
mhm.
what happened? What did you end up doing after that?
I kicked around in some bands, other bands in the area, and um,
Were you in Philly? Were you in New
I was in
York? Where
Philly,
we?
but playing in New York, always being in New York.
Hmm.
Um, I met Carnie like right after that, like
Okay,
immediately.
that was my next question. So okay, so tell us about that.
She came to town with Al Jardine. It's funny how
Ah,
everything comes full circle.
so
She came
Wilson
to
Phillips was on a hiatus or something?
Wilson Phillips had broken up.
Okay.
They were okay, so they did their initial record in 1990, huge success. Then they followed it up with the second album, which wasn't quite as successful. Sold 3 million records, but it was considered.
Only 3
Oh,
million
yeah,
records.
exactly. China, I think she backed out of the band some short time after that, and then
I
everybody.
want you to know my kids can say every word because of Bridesmaids. My kids know every word.
Yes,
Yeah.
isn't that crazy? I know.
That they're just, I guess Lola's too young for that. My kids are older, so yeah.
Oh, but she's privy to it all, though.
Yeah.
That was a
So
great.
so when Wilson Phillips broke up, was that had to be hard for Carney, no?
Incredibly hard for her. Incredibly hard. She went into depression,
Sure.
and she and
Because they
Wendy.
were so huge.
It was almost exactly what I went through, but on a macro scale.
Macro. They were
But the
huge.
same things, though, the same
Right.
interpersonal shit and disillusionment and
And the promise of all this
the promise,
future and
yes, and all
mhm.
taken away. It was the same. It was the same thing. So we kind of really connected on that. And she was, I think, when we met, it was she and Wendy were playing with Al Jardine and Al's son Matt and Adam, and they were going out just doing Beach Boy songs.
What was the name of the band?
It was well, actually, it was originally Beach Boys Family and Friends, and then Al got sued for using the name Beach Boys because,
I remember something
yeah,
about
and
that.
then Mike Love ended up getting the name, and he went out as the Beach Boys. So Al had to
And
change.
Brian was not doing stuff
He had
then.
not yet started his resurgence. That was
Hmm.
a couple of years prior to that. But Al had to end up using the name. It was Al Jardine Family and Friends. That's what it ended up.
Mm.
So she went out. He went out with Carnie and Wendy and Adam and Matt and.
And
Um,
so when Wendy and Carney would go out with him, I assume they would do some Wilson Phillips songs,
no,
no?
they didn't. No, they didn't.
They didn't.
Mm-mm. I think it was still a fresh wound at that point. It was still.
Wow. Okay.
Well, they had also done a solo record themselves with their dad. It was in '97. It was called The
Oh.
Wilsons. It was just Carnie Wendy and then her dad guested on something. It didn't go very far, but it was a fun little thing to do for them. Um, but they were not in a great place in their
Mm-mm.
personal lives, in their business lives. They didn't know what was, so they took the gig with Al, and it just so happened that and also in the band was Richie Kanata, who was a sax player. He played great.
Richie Kanata is a very old dear friend.
Oh,
Richie used to play for me on Bleecker Street a million years
oh,
ago.
wow. Yeah, he was.
Love Richie. So he was just off Billy Joel, I guess.
I guess it was a few years later. Yeah, because that all went down in the earlier part of the '80s, wasn't it?
Mm.
When
He was, yeah, I think Richie left early, actually. Liberty stayed a long time, but I
Liberty
guess
stayed a
Richie
long
left
time.
pretty
That's
early.
right.
Yeah.
I watched that Billy Joel documentary. It was
Wasn't it amazing?
incredible, incredible. What a genius he was. Is
Yeah.
a new appreciation for sure. Like it was
Yeah,
the
me too.
appreciation was always there for me, but that just like, oh yeah, I forgot about. Oh man, I love Billy Joel. Love. But anyway, yeah. So, so as I was saying, so I
So Richie was in the band.
was in the band playing saxophone and keys, a little bit of keys, and they would just do Beach Boy songs and whatever, and they would go out on these, small little multi-bill things with like War and Felix Cavalieri and
Right.
I remember the show that I saw them on where I met Carney. It was the Box Tops were there with Alex
Oh
Jones.
God. The
Yeah,
letter.
of course. It was the Box Tops. It was War. It was Felix Cavalieri and the Rascals. I guess Gene Cornish was there too, and Dino
Gee.
Danelli. I think it was. I can't remember how many of the Rascals were still there. Um, And
Gene was playing for me on Bleecker Street in a rockabilly band
oh
in
man,
the late 80s. Yeah.
what a great band they were.
Mm.
Right? Wow.
The Rascals. My friend Benny Harrison sings with Felix now, and I
Okay. How
just heard
cool.
him do How Can I Be Sure, and it made me cry. It was so
Oh,
beautiful.
wow. We've done a bunch of shows because I play. And we'll get to it later. I play in the Love Spoonful, so I've done shows with those guys.
So
But
I didn't even know about this. All right, we'll get to the Love and
yeah.
Spoonful thing. So all right, so how did you meet?
So okay, so we were there. I went with a friend of mine named Ken Sharp, who's a writer. He writes books, and he's kind of a power pop guy, and he's a musician as well. And he was there to interview Al. And I remember I was a Beach Boys fan. I had just started to get my claws into Pet Sounds and that whole thing. It was just starting to. I came to it late, so I didn't really.
Well, there was a very East Coast, West Coast thing, I
Was
think,
yes,
right?
yes, absolutely. I didn't really. I didn't. It didn't. Of course, I knew who the Beach Boys were all those years, but the cars and the surf didn't really relate to it. It was the Jersey Shore, man. It was Springsteen.
Right. Well, and also before that, it was the
Yeah,
Rascals. Well, that's before your
Rascals.
time,
It
but
was.
yeah, it was that was the East Coast sound. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, he had asked me if I wanted to come along to meet Al. I was like, yeah, of course, sure. And I wasn't going to go, and then I ended up going, and I met Carnie backstage, and we just hit it off, and it was never stopped. That was that.
Wow.
We really had a lot in common, and we had a lot to talk about, and we ended up talking a lot on the phone, and she was still touring and going out with Al. And I remember our first date proper was with she was on tour with Al, and they were in Portland, Maine, and she flew me up there or something. I can't remember how it went down, but that was our first date, and we never stopped. Just
Wow. Wow. Wow.
fun.
And so how much longer until you made it official?
Oh wow, maybe a year and a half.
Not too long.
I was
And
I was yeah, I was 32, no 31, and she was 30. We were at the age where it was time,
mhm.
we were mature enough, and we had some knocks on our life. We didn't live, well, obviously hadn't lived our full lives yet, but we were ready to settle down together. And it just,
Now, by this time, you were fully educated on the Beach Boys, I'm sure. I
yes,
mean, and did it like freak?
yes,
Did you have to slap yourself? Oh my
yes,
God, Brian Wilson. Are you kidding me?
yes. It was surreal. Yeah. And, I met Brian very early on,
And how was your relationship with Brian? Because that was a strange time in Brian's life, wasn't it?
I'm sorry, it was what?
A strange time in
Yeah,
Brian's life.
yeah, it was. Well, for Brian, he was just starting to tour again. Um,
Oh, so he was back already.
he
Okay.
was just starting to tour. He had already done his own solo record in the late '80s. That was um,
So why didn't Carnie and Wendy go out with Brian?
they were estranged for years. They were estranged
Okay.
for years. There was a whole lot of craziness with his caretakers at the time, Eugene Landy, and all the things that went down.
Right.
They were just not in communication, and Carney was devastated by it. She didn't have her dad, so she spent a lot of time trying to get back a relationship with her father, which she eventually did, thankfully. Um,
When did that how long did it take for that to happen?
oh wow, it was over a number of years.
Oh,
I think there was probably a 10-year span where they didn't weren't
wow.
at all. And this was probably during the Wilson Phillips years, but she said that he always followed the music, and he was
So
always.
he wasn't in her life when she was having that huge
Nope.
success?
He didn't come back into the picture really
Wow.
until they did I think they did a duets record with Rob Wasserman. Was that when they did it? Maybe in the mid '90s. And Carney got to sing with her dad and Rob Wasserman. They did some duet thing. Um, and then in '97, she and Wendy and her dad did the record together. So at that point, they had kind of started to mend their relationship again. Um,
That had to be painful as hell.
oh
My
wow! I
God.
mean, she's still it's the scars and all that stuff is very much still here, still there.
But they had a lot of years where they were close again, where they were, I don't know, again, maybe for the first time.
Got to make a lot of amends with her father over the years.
And how was Lola and Lucy's relationship with him?
Um, he wasn't like the granddad that would take him out for ice cream. Let's go. But we would come over and they would sing for him, and he would just enjoy their company. He wasn't very conversational all the time,
Right.
especially as he got older. He wasn't. Um, but I mean, he was there for the kids' births. He was quick. He came to visit them when they were born, and
Oh.
he was as much a part of it as he could be, I think.
And so how did you come to play with Brian?
Yeah. There. Okay, I was friends with early on when I first met Carnie. I befriended a lot of the family and Jeff Foskett and
Okay, wait, I have to go back. What were you doing musically when you and Carney were starting out?
I had just started to branch out and trying to develop myself as my own artist is what I was doing at the time. Um, just self-discovery, really. So I didn't have any. Um, I didn't really. I don't know if I had a blueprint for what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew I wanted to make music and be my own musician, and I was
Hmm.
recording and writing
Were
songs.
you going out and doing solo gigs and stuff?
I was doing with bands still in Philly.
Hmm.
We met, but after Carney and I got together, she moved to Philly with me for a year. So we lived together for a year in Philly. At that point, I was starting to do solo things myself, yes. And then when we moved to California, which was after a year in Philly, this was 2001. I was starting to more and more play as a solo artist.
And did you two ever talk about doing something together?
Yeah, all through the years.
I
We
bet, because you guys sound amazing together.
It's fun when we play together, but we try to write together and we just end up fighting.
Yeah, it's probably not good for the
It comes from
relationship.
we have different styles of. Yeah, I'm very impatient, sadly, and she's also impatient in her own way. So we end
Yeah,
up, but we've just learned to respect our
that's
whatever.
probably best.
Yeah, one day though, we're gonna do that record.
Yeah. And with your kids, I mean, I even saw Lucy
Sure.
plays uh cello. Does she play
She
cello?
did. She used to. She's embarrassed about it now. She's like, I don't do it. Now she's got an incredible ear. She plays keyboards. She's really attracted to the production side of things. So
Ah, does she sing?
she's got a beautiful voice, but she's not quite ready to show the world.
All right. All right. She's young.
She's still unfolding. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are together, you're in Philly, you're doing bands, and then what happens?
We had a point where it was like, do we want to stay here? Do we want to move back home where her family is from? And I was certainly ready for a change. And she, I don't think, liked the winters so much. We lived in Manioc in Philadelphia, a suburb of Philly, which is all hills, big hills. So when you get the snow, I just remember the car just like sliding down the road. We lived on a paved.
Oh.
She didn't like it much. Funny because
Oh, and she was a California girl.
100% through and through.
Oh, wow. Of course. Oh,
But
that must have been brutal for her.
yes, but funny enough, lately we've been discussing moving back east, but that's a whole nother thing. But
Wow.
yeah, it was it was a welcome change for me, and it was a return to what she knew for her. So we decided to do that. I remember we was like, are we going to live in New York or California? Which is it going to be? Let's just go LA because that's where her family is. So that's what it
Now,
is.
how hard was that for you, Rob? Because did you have music people out here?
No, not
So
really.
what did you do?
I built it from the ground up.
Wow. How long did that take? Was it hard?
What year is it now? 2025. I'm still I'm still.
No, everybody knows and loves you, and everybody's asking me about Wild Honey. We'll get to that before we go. But
It was a long accumulate. It was a process, and you graduate. And also, I'm a shy person, man. I'm not great at being out there. I learned over years how to do that. So
you're very easy to talk to, and I remember Christina Guzman's the one who
oh,
introduced us
oh,
at Nick's first house concert. That you were so lovely
thank you.
to support him in, and love you, Nick. I'm sure Nick's out there.
That makes
Um,
their families dear, near and dear. But yeah, yeah.
So, okay, so you come out here and so what do you do? Do you start like going to the Mint? I mean, like what do you
Yes,
do?
played at the Mint a bunch. I
Oh,
started. I started bands right away. I was.
So how did you start a band? Where'd you find the people?
I remember there was this guy named Barry Squire. Do you remember Barry Squire?
Mm-mm.
I want to say he worked at, was it Columbia? I forget what label it was. But in his post A&R days, this was back then, he would basically be in charge of like finding players for bands. He was like
Oh,
the matchmaker. And
uh-huh.
I found a bunch of players um, right off the bat through him.
Anybody I would know that you
Do
played with?
Derek Frank, you know Derek Frank? He's a bassist.
Mm-mm.
He's very successful now. He plays with Shania Twain and God, lots of Gwen Stefani and all kinds of people.
Oh, wow.
He was working as a hired gun at the time. So I met him early. This is 2001,
Oh,
2002.
so you had hired guns.
Pretty much, yeah. Yes, that's kind of how I met people. I didn't know how to
Right.
do it in LA. How do you do it? So we were playing at the Mint. We would play gigs at the Mint and the Viper Room, and I remember the Cat Club.
And what music are you playing the stuff you used to are
Yeah,
you writing new music? What are you
all
doing?
new music, all self-penned stuff, and very much in the same style. Power pop, rock and roll. It really hasn't. Well, it's evolved a little bit, but it's still the same. Songs.
I would definitely call you power pop.
Okay, yeah, sure. It's rock and roll. It's
It is.
Beatles is kind of at the foundation of two guitars, bass.
Absolutely.
It's just rock songs, verses and choruses and bridges. It grows and
Good lyrics.
that's
Good
right. Yeah,
good.
songs is what I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
We did. That was our time, right?
Hmm.
Tom Rundgren, that's a huge inspiration for me. That guy, all the stuff he did. So yeah, so we would be playing wherever we could, and I remember almost signing to Hollywood Records with Rob Cavallo. Funny enough, he's a friend of mine. He's a friend now, but back then I remember we did this big showcase at SIR in Hollywood, and Rob Cavallo came out. He was going to sign me, but then for whatever reason, I didn't have star power or whatever it was, and it didn't happen. So that was kind of shattered. But then I ended up just keep moving, moving forward, and
And would Carnie ever come out and like sing backup for you and
no,
just
no,
no?
I didn't want that connection. It was a separate thing, and this is also before Wilson Phillips reunited. So
Uh-huh.
she was, she went through her weight loss surgery at the time, so she was going through her stuff, and I
Right.
was supportive of her and however I could. But I was just trying to do what I always done, and just out here in LA. And then let's see what happened after that. So yeah, the Hollywood records didn't happen. And then I got a manager who knew Sylvia Massey, the producer Sylvia Massey.
Mm-mm.
She worked with Prince and Tom Petty and Tool,
Oh,
and
cool.
a bunch of cool bands. And she
Hmm.
had a studio up in Northern California, and was interested in producing my record, the music that I had accumulated. So I went up there. I spent about 6 weeks up there, and I did my first record. It was called Skies of America. I wanted to call it by a band name at the time. I didn't want to be known as myself, so I called it The Skies of America for whatever reason. I stole the name from an Ornette Coleman record. Jazz. Jazz again. So we did that record, and I put it out on a label that it was an independent label that she had built from the ground up. And we did some touring. This was in 2004. No, it was 2004 that I did the record.
Uh-huh.
And Carnie would come up and visit. I remember that. Yeah, okay. My timeline is skewed. But this is right around the time, shortly thereafter, Lola was conceived and born. So we had Lola. And then I went out on tour, I guess it was a year and a half later, for about 2 months in a van. We just slugged it out in a van for 2 months. It was a lot of fun. Came back home, and I just started writing music and starting to try to involve myself in other projects and playing with other people and on other people's records. And it was a slow build. It was a slow build at that point.
And so at what point does Wilson Phillips get back together? And at what point do you start playing with Brian? When does all this happen for you
Yeah.
guys?
Okay. Well, let's go back a little bit. So the songs that I had written for that record that I did with Sylvia, I got some songs in movies. I got some stuff in
Oh, that's cool.
movies and TV things, and
That's
so
great.
it was really good. I'm still getting residuals. It's great. Yeah. So
Fabulous.
yeah. So it wasn't the success that I thought that I was going to have or wanted, to be a rock star, but that didn't really pan out. But I still wanted to write and be a musician and play.
Right.
That's the base of it. It's not about wanting to be a rock star. It's about that's what I do. So that part of it is still with me. So around 2004, Wilson Phillips decided to get together again. I don't remember what the impetus was. I think it was they were
Were
offering.
they estranged when
Yeah.
they were estranged?
Were they estranged? Yeah. Well, no, I don't think so. Because when I met Carnie, I met China shortly thereafter. She was living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
When Carnie came out here, we would visit them once in a while. They weren't doing anything musically. I think.
But they weren't at
They
personal
were
odds.
right. I think they had come to some kind of reconciliation amongst
Mm-hmm.
personally. There was a time where they didn't speak for a while, but they mended their differences, I guess. And China had just had, was it her third child? I can't remember. And I do remember that she called Carnie and was like, "Okay, I'm ready. Let's do a record." And it was just some kind of boop. And so from there on, they were offered a deal working with Peter Asher. So they did a record called California. This is 2004, where they did They did covers of California artists, Jackson Browne and Joni Mitchell and all kinds of stuff. That was 2004, and that's when they started to play out again.
And so what was that like for your family when Carnie would go out? So would you stay home when Carnie would go out?
No, wait, I'm trying to think now.
Because you have Lola already.
It was Lola born, my timeline is getting
Yeah, that's okay. I get
It
that.
might have been 2003. I can't remember. It was before Lola that they did the record.
Uh-huh.
Just prior to Lola, that they did the record and tours. No, I was always in the band, so I don't remember what we did. I think we had a nanny at home, and
I was going to say, how'd you navigate it? Because
we never tour. It was never a tour. It was always just one-offs.
I see.
Yeah, so it was never a real.
I'm gone for 6 months kind of thing.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Thankfully, but that's been going on ever since. So. A couple of records later, I ended up producing the record after California. They did a record called Dedicated.
Yes, with the hits of their parents. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I somehow ended up in doing that. And then just doing my own records all at the same time, continuing to write and record and put out to whoever would want to hear it.
Your records are fabulous, Rob, and I hope that you get the attention that you deserve. Yeah. And so how did you connect? I don't know, did Wild Honey come before the Tribe? I don't know what came first here.
I came first. The Tribe came first. This was 2015, I think. They were doing it was the first, somebody told me about, I can't remember even who it was who told me about it, that they were going to plan some Beach Boys themed charity concert. And this is the first time any of those guys got together as the Tribe.
Now, wait, are you already playing with Brian?
No, I wasn't. Brian was playing, but I wasn't yet playing with Brian.
Okay.
Only because his band was already in place. There was no place for me to be in his band.
And how was your personal relationship with him?
Fine. We would go out to dinner and, Carnie was, we were all.
And he obviously knew about your music. He'd heard your music.
Sure. Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to tell. Brian was just
yeah.
in his head. So
yeah.
I do remember a time playing some songs for him. He's like, "Oh yeah, whatever." I wasn't the kind of guy to like, "Brian, listen to my stuff, please."
Yeah.
I would shy away from that altogether. I don't even like posting on Facebook, and it's a detriment to my aspirations. But what am I going to do? So what was I going to say?
You were talking about the Tribe, how you got hooked up with the Tribe.
So they were planning this big Beach Boys benefit concert, Beach Boys themed. Somebody told me about it, and I remember I went down there. I didn't know anybody. Who did I know? Okay, I know who got me into it. It was Tom Jacob, who was a keyboard player, who was the original keyboard player with Al Jardine when I met Carnie. So he's like, "Hey, Rob, you should come down here and do this thing. There's, all these guys or whatever." I didn't really know anybody. And I can't remember. They had some some star guests come down, and we just all became real friends. Friends real quick. Kevin Wax is a great guy. He's the one who spearheads that whole organization.
Mm-hmm.
Lori Reamer, who's
Mm-hmm.
she does all that work for them, and they're dear friends to this day. I love them. They've really, especially Lori, really, really championed me and I'm humble, and I felt so humble. I didn't feel like I was worthy to accept all this, this help coming from her, whatever. But I welcomed it, and I'm very grateful.
And so, for those people out there that don't know about the tribe, tell us what
The
you
tri-
guys raise money.
the tribe is the brainchild of Kevin Wax and his wife Mare. They have an organization called the Get Together Foundation, and every year, a couple times a year, ever since that initial concert, the Beach Boys concert, they've been doing 1, 2, and 3 events a year, all for charity and all for local things, all kinds of stuff, whether it be fire relief things and hunger or instruments for children in need, all kinds of stuff. They're just very philanthropic like that, and very giving to the community, and it attracts lots of local players and
Great players.
all kinds of guys, all kinds of people have gotten together. I've met many people through that organization. And it's
Have things ever splintered off into other work as a result?
yes, yeah. I'm
Mhm.
trying to think of. Okay, so let's see. Through the tribe, I met Jeff Ross and Bilson Kay, and I'm in the Love and Spoonful with those guys.
So, all right, now I thought that happened because of your work with Wild
Well, that's
Honey.
why. Yes, that's why I said it was kind of like a 6th degree of separation, because when we did the Wild Honey event, Jim.
Okay, so how did you get into Wild Honey?
Okay. So, so 1 year after the initial Tribe Beach Boys benefit, there was a Wild Honey benefit in 2016 that was also Beach Boys focused.
Now tell everybody about Wild Honey, which is Christina Guzman is the one who educated me.
Yes. So Wild Honey is the brainchild of Paul Rock, and he has an organization which helps the autistic community. He has an autistic son who's actually quite a gifted
Amazing what's going on.
amazing. It's beyond my comprehension of how that works when you're autistic, but you have this incredible gift inside you. So anyway, he kind of like started it with a core bunch of players: Andrew Sandoval, Jim Laspiza, who else? Rob Lawfer. All these guys started this organization in the '90s, I guess it was, maybe even before that. I think it was what brought the Wondermints into the orbit of Brian Wilson, and started the whole Brian Wilson touring thing, because that was
Wow.
Crenshaw and Nick Walusko and those guys, and Mikey D'Amico. They're the Wondermints. They ended up joining Brian, and so they were adjacent to the Wild Honey organization. And then there's David Jenkins, who is kind of like the mensch of all LA
Yes,
music.
he is.
And he's a dear, dear, dear friend.
Mm.
That I knew peripherally for years, but never really got to know him well. I knew him because he worked at True Tone for many years.
Right.
You'd see him there all the time. Hey, we would talk, and he loves to chat about music and all kinds of stuff. He's got stories to tell forever. And I remember seeing David out at somewhere, and I'm like, hey, David, you got to get me in that Wild Honey, man. I want to play. It was a Beach Boys thing, so I felt entitled to be some part of the Beach Boys thing. I can get Carnie in, it'd be great. And he was like, sure, whatever. And then it happened, and David and I became good friends, and that's where I met all those guys. So I met Jim Laspiza through there, who's a dear friend of mine as well. And through that event and working with Darian, I ended up in the Brian Band.
How bizarre that you start out as his son-in-law and you have to go to this band to end up in his band.
All like full circle, weird 6th degree.
It's crazy.
All together. And funny enough, I joined the Brian Band because Matt Jardine from the Al Jardine Band, going way back, couldn't do a particular tour. He had to stay home for some reason. So I was chosen to fill his spot because I did the Wild Honey, and I became friends with Darian in a musical sense. I knew Darian for years, but we never played music together. And so I think that he got a chance to see that I could actually do music. I am a musician too, see?
That's just crazy that you went in the back door.
Went in the back door, exactly. So I did that tour with Brian. This was in 2018. We did a Christmas tour. It actually was 3 tours tagged together. We did a Pet Sounds tour for a couple of weeks. Then we did the Christmas tour a couple of weeks. And then it was like a greatest hits thing. It was 2 months on the road straight. And that was my trial by fire. So I was singing. I was, again, coming back to not thinking I'm a singer. I had to be a singer at that point because I was doing all the high parts, all the Brian.
I was going to say you weren't just doing backgrounds. You were singing lead.
I was singing lead, man, right off the bat, which was
wow.
I shut down any fear-based whatever it was and just held my nose and jumped in the deep end. Went for it.
Good for you.
I had nothing to lose. I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to have a good time. And it was a blast. And then I didn't know if I was going to come back into the band because that tour had ended and then they were going to start back up again that spring. And it looked like I wasn't coming back because Matt came back to the band. So there was not really a position for me. So I was asked that summer to go.
Did Matt sing the high?
Yes, that's his part. That's his, and to this day still, he's the high parts guy. So he came back. I was disappointed. I thought I was going to have a position in the band, but it didn't happen. So that summer, I was asked by Mike Love to join his band to fill in for Scott Totten, who was the musical director.
Wait, now isn't that like bad family politics?
You think, I think that the fans out there love to build enemies or to make.
Well, no, I'm just wondering like how Brian was with it.
I don't think that, I don't know. Some people had bad blood about it, but they had also just gotten done the Beach Boys 50th reunion tour, which was only a few years prior to that. Mm-hmm. So everybody knew everybody. Everybody was
right.
And I didn't have a gig, so they offered me a gig. I'm going to say no.
No, absolutely. And how was Carnie with that?
We've never had any strained relation with Mike or Jackie, ever. It's never been a strained relationship. Mm-hmm. It was always the business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We love Jackie. Jackie's a doll, Jackie Love. And it worked out, so, and I ended up doing a couple of weeks with them that summer.
So what were you doing when you were playing with Mike Love?
Yeah, I was singing.
You were singing the high parts.
I was singing the high parts, but playing guitar as well. So I kind of had a dual function, more of a.
Do you not play guitar when you do?
Not initially. Initially, I had an acoustic guitar. I wasn't. Nicky Wonder was playing the guitar. He was Nicky and Probe and Gregory. They were the guitarists. So I didn't have a guitar position. So anyway, so I'm in the Mike band playing guitar.
So now in the Mike band, you're called the Beach Boys, aren't you?
It's the Beach Boys, correct? Because he owned the rights to the name.
Right.
He was administered the rights to the name or whatever it was. That was the crux of many battles.
Yeah.
Amongst the insiders. So I did that for a couple of weeks, and then because I remember Brian went out again to start a fall tour or a fall run or a week run or whatever it was, and they went out for their first show, and Jim Laspisa called me on the phone, frantic, and said Nicky passed away. Nicky Wonder, the guitarist, he passed away that first show of the tour. He died in his hotel room. Died.
Oh my gosh!
It was horrific, and they were shattered. They didn't know what to do. They went on. They continued to play. So they did a week without anybody. They just had his guitar up on stage, like as a.
Oh my!
It was heavy duty stuff, heavy shit.
Wow.
So immediately they asked me, we need somebody to fill the shoes, and I was asked, but I was committed to Mike, to doing those couple more weeks of shows, which I had to get out of.
You had to get out of. How did you do that? And was that bad blood?
It wasn't bad blood because I think that considering the circumstances, and because Brian is my father-in-law, so I'm closer to that side of the family, and they needed me.
Right.
And I
Who replaced you with Mike Love?
It was a guy named Matt, but he was a keyboard player. Matt, and I can't remember his name.
Did they get him right away? Did they?
Well, I was only filling in for Scott Totten, who had to take a break for a couple of weeks. He was the guitarist MD, and that's how I got the Mike Love thing. So it wasn't like I was bailing on a
I see.
commitment. It was only a couple more weeks that I had do that, but my calling was to go to Brian.
Did you help find a replacement for yourself, or did you just say,
Um,
I don't know how
I
that
don't think I
works, so
did.
I'm
I don't
just,
think I did. I think there was another guy that Scott Totten had
hmm.
previous. I was the first call, but this guy was a call down the road. So that whatever, he got his fill in for the next couple of weeks, and they made it out okay. And then Scott came back, and I went with Brian, and so that's how I ended up being a permanent guitar player position in the band. Sadly enough, but that's how it happened. Isn't that weird? It's just weird.
And so once you started being a part of that band,
Mhm.
did your relationship with Brian change?
Um,
Not so much.
no, I don't think it did. I don't think it
Hmm.
changed so much, other than the fact that it was cool to see him every day.
Hmm.
But he and I had already had a relationship for 15 plus years,
Hmm.
you know. And at that point in time, also when I was in the band, he was kind of fading.
Yeah.
So he was kind of there cognitively, and then kind of not there, and so it was almost like there was a degree of we're here to kind of prop him up and help him.
So how was that for you, Rob? Was it hard to play those gigs? Was it sad? Was it
It was a little of all that. It was a little bit difficult. It was a little sad. It was a little. I'm watching the audience watch him and wondering what they're thinking, and
oh,
because then people were like, "How can they make this old guy go out? He loved to be out on the road. You know why? He was weighted on hand and foot. He loved it. I think it was that one space of time, those 2 hours every night, that frightened him. He didn't, he just was afraid to be the focus of everybody's attention. But he loved being on the road, and he loved his bandmates
mm,
and the music. The bottom line was the music.
hmm.
I don't know. It was awkward and weird, but it was
And
great.
by this time, Carnie and he are having a,
Yeah, this was 20 years already down the road that their relationship. Yeah, but we're all witnessing the decline. We're all seeing him. He had a bad back surgery, and it made him not be able to walk. And at his age, when you don't have that mobility, and that's
mm-hmm.
really all he had, was that mobility. That was his freedom. Because everywhere else in his life, he was really kind of controlled in a lot of ways. But yeah, losing the mobility really did a number on his cognitive sensibility.
And so now, you go out, Carnie goes out.
Hmm.
What happens to the kid? Like, does it ever over? Do you have somebody who comes in when you both have to be gone?
Um,
Obviously, you don't leave
did. I
Lucy
mean, we
alone.
did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did at the time, but she wasn't touring. I don't think I've missed more than a couple, maybe a handful of Wilson Phillips gigs because of other commitments. Only because they don't tour regularly.
Well, but if you both go,
Right.
what happens to your house?
Right. Well, at this point, the kids can stay home or come with us if they want. Lucy's 16, Lola's 20.
Right.
Um,
Lola's,
grandma,
yeah.
grandma's in
Mhm.
the neighborhood. Grandma, they can stay with grandma, or Wendy lives nearby, and they've stayed with them at certain times when it was appropriate. But it never really became a big deal or a big thing, thankfully. Like, where both of us were gone for lengths of time, thankfully.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so tell us about the Wild Honey gig that's coming up that people can get tickets to if you're in Los
Yes.
Angeles.
This is it's a tribute to the late great Warren Zevon.
Oh, love him.
Yeah. So
Perfect timing with the Rock and
timing
Roll
was
Hall of
to
Fame.
fit into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yes.
Finally.
My little notes about this. Yes. And being introduced to all this great music. I of course knew all the great songs. I knew Lawyers, Guns, and Money, and
Hmm.
Werewolves of London, and Excitable Boy. But there's a swath of other songs I never knew.
I imagine Waddy Wachtel's not doing it because Waddy's
Right.
out with Stevie,
That
right?
was Stevie. Yeah. Unfortunately, or fortunately, because I get to play a lot of Waddy parts,
There
and
you go.
he's a hero for sure.
Waddy's
Love that
amazing.
guy. So incredible, so pure.
So, so who else is on? So who's going to be honoring Warren,
Okay, so we will have Jackson Browne.
which is amazing. Jackson always does it too, like you, which is fantastic.
Oh, Jackson is. I'm thrilled. I'm over the moon to even be in his presence. Dwight Yoakam's going to do some stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
Jorge Calderon. I guess he was Warren Zevon's right hand guy for many years. He's going to be involved. Shooter Jennings, who's Waylon Jennings' son.
Mhm.
Marshall Crenshaw is going to do some stuff.
Isn't Warren's son going to do it?
Yes, Jordan Zevon will be doing it. Susan
Marshall
Cal.
Crenshaw, nice, yeah.
John Wesley Harding, who I know the name, but I'm not familiar with his music. And I know the Dylan record too, but
Right, of
no
course.
relation there. Dennis Dyken from the Smithereens will be involved. Leland Sklar, who's,
Lee's doing it fabulous.
will be there. Do you know Rick Marotta? I think he was the original drummer on Excitable Boy.
Oh, wow.
That prime era.
Oh,
Bob
God.
Bob Glaub, you know him?
Hmm.
He was an original guy too. Matt Sonas, I'm not sure who he was.
And so you're going to be doing, when you do these Wild Honey shows and you honor somebody, I know Susan Cowsill's coming out too, right?
Yes, Susan.
So everybody comes out and does.
They'll do a couple of songs or a selected song or two or whatever. Yeah, they'll choose songs. The Wild Honey, we'll deep dive on this stuff. I remember
You guys deep dive and then some. I mean, I was at one Wild Honey show that I think was 4 or 5 hours. It was
God,
crazy.
That was probably the band show. I wasn't on that
Oh
one.
my God, it was insane. It
I
went
heard
on.
it just was like 4 hours.
It was insane.
Yeah, but like the Love and Spoonful, I think we did the entire catalog.
It was, yeah, that was.
So close to it.
Yeah.
Which we'll be doing quite a few songs here. I think there's 30 plus songs we'll be doing.
How fun.
It's really fun.
I mean, we're only missing it because we're going to be in Nashville. I go to all the Wild Honey shows. I love them. They're fabulous.
And I have to give a shout out to the Wild Honey musical leaders this time around, which Nick Vincent, who's a phenomenal drummer, Jordan Summers, who's a tremendous keyboard player, myself, Jeff Perlman. Do you know Jeff? Guitarist Jeff Perlman?
I don't think so.
Great guy, awesome guy. JJ Blair will be a part. I know.
No, JJ.
And
is he in the house band?
He is going to be on a couple of songs. Yes. I don't think he's going to be on a lot, maybe 1 or 2 or 3.
But then you also have like all the voices, and then you have the strings, and you have.
We've only rehearsed with the core band. So next week begins the whole shebang.
I assume you guys record all this.
It is recorded for posterity. I don't know where to find these. They're on DVD. I know they're professionally done. I've never seen any myself. I see them on YouTube's, but I don't know. I got to get my hands on some of those past ones.
And then Carnie will be singing, I assume, too.
No.
No?
No, she's not on this. She's not on it. She doesn't know Warren Zevon. She'll know no Warren Zevon. No, she's got something else going on, unfortunately. But was Warren? I mean, how do you classify Warren? Because I grew up in the East Coast, and I grew up. I heard the songs. I couldn't quite pinpoint. I didn't picture him as an LA guy, although he probably was an LA guy.
I don't know anything about his relationship to Los Angeles. I just know that I came. he was part of my.
Yeah, me too. On the East Coast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was New York.
Well, he did it. He wrote a song that I guess Linda Ronstadt had a hit with, Carmelita, and I guess Jackson Browne was parallel to that too somewhere. But what a unique guy, man! Whew.
Such a character.
Such a character, and so those acerbic lyrics, and there's just like the sarcasm in the butt. Oh, I love it. And
he was so funny.
Funny dude. And
funny.
Very close to David Letterman, wasn't he?
Yeah, we were talking about that before we went live. Gabe, my husband, was his head monologue writer, and Letterman just loved Warren Zevon. He just loved him. I think he was his favorite artist, actually.
Yeah.
Had him on quite a bit. And the two of them chatting together was quite something.
And he's inducting Warren into the Rock and Roll.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is, which is very fitting. And it's about time that happened.
Yes. But anyway, this Wild Honey, it's going to benefit the Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization. And I think Warren had passed away from like mesothelioma, some kind of asbestos lung cancer.
Oh, okay.
And also the Ed Asner Family Center.
I loved Ed. And so, okay, so tell everybody it's October
24th at the United Theater, which is 929 South Broadway in Los Angeles. We usually have it.
It's not. Oh my God! It's not in Glendale.
It's at a place called the United Theater. 9:20
Wow.
Yes, October 24th, Friday. Yeah.
Okay, and so people can get tickets online, I'm assuming.
It's I'm pretty sure are available online, and yeah. And I forgot to mention Willie Aaron is involved in it, and Danny Magoo, great keyboardist, um, Jim Laspiza.
Are these gigs like crazy fun for you?
I love it, yeah, because you know what, and it was a lesson learned when we did the Love and Spoonful show. I wasn't really familiar with their catalog. I knew the hits, and I remember when somebody said, you know, the next Wild Honey is going to be the Spoonful. I'm like, what are we going to do? 4 songs? I didn't know. It was like an education, and an education it was. So we ended up doing like 35 songs, and wow, what a catalog. Incredible. And
wow. And John did it, and I got to
John
meet
was there,
John with Jimmy Vivino did a show with John, like at the,
yeah, he's done a number of shows with
and I got to go, I don't know, in 20, I mean, a long time ago, at least almost 15 years ago. And he was so lovely. He
yeah,
was so lovely.
he's come out to see us play, funny enough. In
Oh,
Woodstock, in Bethel Woods.
that's amazing.
That was a surreal moment. That was yeah, maybe a year and a half ago. He came out. We did a show at Bethel Woods, the site of the original Woodstock. And
Amazing.
there's John Sebastian watching his old band, and I'm in that old band, and we got to hang out the whole day together.
Wow, but he didn't get up with you guys?
No, he didn't.
Oh, well,
He's
you got to play with him before, though.
did, and it was a thrill.
So speaking of which, before we go, Rob, I had asked you before we came live. Can you do something for us here?
Oh yeah, I sure can. I want to make sure that you can hear me, or it doesn't like. I remember I did this one time, and there was some kind of compression on the thing, so that I was just strumming away, and I was done the song, and they're like, we couldn't hear any of it.
All right, so strum, and let's make sure that we can.
You can hear me now.
Yeah.
I have a song that I'm actually finishing recording myself. I have to cheat a little bit because it's still kind of new, and it's called Fade Away, and it's going to be on my new record. By the way, my new record is going to be coming out shortly, and it's going to be called The Over Under.
Which is another great song.
Thanks. I have a single called Monsters that's going to be played on Sirius XM Channel 21, The Underground Garage, on Palmyra Del Rey Show, Trash Pop Shindig. She's going to debut on October 29th. That's called Monsters. But this song is probably the newest song and the most recent song that I recorded for this record, the last one. It's called Fade Away. You ready? All right, here we go. Look in my eyes, please take the wheel. I'm in no condition to drive. Rich in the head, broke in the heart. Though I wear a permanent smile, and I keep repeating the same old lines about who he was and how it was and how it can be again. Grief and despair, the common disease for those who don't love anymore. We're almost there, but it's 2:45, and we've been on this road for miles. watch the night change from black to blue till we can't see the stars anymore. Where there's smoke, there is fire. Where there's hope, there's desire. Where there's rain, there's a washing away. We may run, or we may hide, but we won't fade away. Fade away. Coming of age, it creeps like a thief and leaves without saying goodbye. So sly like a criminal mind. Though we give our best, sometimes our best, it's never quite enough. Where there's smoke, there is fire. Where there's hope, there's desire. Where there's rain, there's a washing away. We may run, we may hide, but we won't fade away. Fade away. Fade away. Fade away. Fade away.
Oh, Rob, I just can't wait. Okay, so how can we get your music? I know your album hasn't come out yet, but how can we get what is available?
My website is www.bonfiglio, bonfiglio.com.
It'll be in the liner notes so everybody can just click a link. Thank you so much for doing this. It was so great to see you again.
It's too long for us to hang out. We got to see each other.
Absolutely. And I hope I see you very soon playing out. I'm so sorry I'm going to miss this Wild Honey show, but everyone out there, you shouldn't miss it. It's going to be tremendous. And I'll stay abreast of where I can catch you next.
Good. I'll let you know for sure.
Thank
Love
you.
you.